On possible rerun of presidential election, how will the election be conducted? A big question to be answered again. Okay. Now, what will be the clauses? What will be the recommendations that the tribunal will make as to how the rerun of the election will be conducted? Okay. So the big question is, if the court orders a rerun of the election, how will the election be conducted under Tinubu's government? Tinubu is someone who is desperate, who wants to be president at all costs, who wants to even do 80 years ahead, not even 4 years. So now, if he loses in the court and then the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal decide that a rerun of election should be conducted, how will Tinubu organize such election? How will he handle it? That is a big question, because first of all, we saw how the presidential election went. We saw how the governorship election went. We saw how Tinubu used thugs in the southwest. We saw how he bought politicians like Wike in Rivers State to mar all the election by violence. In fact, we saw the report of the EU foreign election observers in Nigeria, how that report came out 2 weeks ago or so, or last week, saying that the election was marred by violence, all forms of violations of electoral laws and policies and programs, and how Inec failed the whole world in the promises they made to Nigerians and the rest of the world on how the election will be conducted and transmitted and how a winner will emerge. We saw how all of that, how violence marred the election in Lagos, how they targeted all the supporters of Peter Obi and Dati Baba Ahmed, and how people suffered injuries all over everywhere in Lagos and in Port Harcourt. Okay, so with this kind of Tinubu now that was desperate to become the president, and with how he managed his own party and managed his own people, causing propaganda everywhere, using Bayo Nanoga, using FFK, using Festus Kayamu, using Oshomole, using everybody to cause propaganda and to cause confusion, cause ethnic hatred and ethnic division across Nigeria, because of his desperation to become Nigerian president. Now he's the incumbent president as declared by Inec, because this is an Inec president, he's not Nigerian. Nigerians actually did not vote for him. It was Peter Obi that won that election. So the question now is, if the tribunal orders a rerun of election, how will this same kind of person organize the election? If in the previous February 25 election that made him the president, he behaved the way he behaved, when he was not even the president, it was Buhari that was the president, and it was under Buhari's government that the election was organized using Mahmoud Yakubu as chairman of the INEC. Okay, and we saw how everything went in a very violent way, violence of all sorts that marred that election. Now that Tinubu himself, that his supporters perpetrated that violence, is now the president and is now to organize the rerun of the election. How will the election go? How will it be conducted? That is a big question to answer. Okay, I'm sure Tinubu will do everything within his power to make sure that this time that the power is in his hand, that he does not lose the election. That is the truth. He will do everything to make sure he doesn't lose it. And he will do everything so that by the time he uses violence or uses all forms of federal government instruments, okay, to his own advantage, by the time he wins again, because probably people will not come out and vote because of fear of losing their lives or being injured, he will then come out and tell the whole world to see that, yes, he told them that he won election before, and now it has happened again for them to be sure that he won election. Meanwhile, how is the election going to be conducted? How is he going to handle it? That becomes the issue. It's just like in mathematics. It's not about the answer, it's about the procedure or the steps you took to get your answer. Okay, so mathematicians and mathematics lecturers don't just mark answers, they also mark procedures, they mark steps, they mark the steps of work that you pass through to get your answer. But the politics in Nigeria, no. The Nigerian politics, you mark answers, you don't mark procedure, you don't mark steps. Okay, So that is a very big question, because Tinubu, that I know, will do everything to make sure that the election is conducted in a manner that he wins again, so that he will prove to the world that he actually won the election before now. Meanwhile, everybody is seeing the fact that he is using government instruments to his own advantage, and he's using violence and all sorts of intimidation, voters intimidation, to get what he wants. Okay. So this becomes a very big question that Nigerians need to answer. The another part of it is, what will be the recommendation of the tribunal on how the election will be conducted? Because it will not be enough for the tribunal to just say election should be reconducted. Okay, it's not enough to say it should be reconducted. It's to also provide guidelines on how the election should be reconducted, in addition to the current Electoral Act of 2022 and INEC guidelines as well. Another thing again, should Mahmoud Yakubu, the known liar now, that he conducted the last election without any presentable result, should he be the same person that will manage INEC to conduct the rerun of the election? That will be a very bad one. That will be a very bad one. That will be a very bad one. Okay, if the election is to be conducted again, I tell you that Mahmoud Yakubu will not be the right person to conduct that election. Okay, Festus Okoye should not be the right person. In fact, most of the INEC executives right now should all be removed, including the ICT director of the INEC should also be removed, because rumors have had it in the past that that ICT director was nominated by Tinubu's camp to remain there. So it means that Tinubu has positioned people right within Buhari's government before now to work his entry into becoming a president. And that is why they say he's smart. But it's wrongly smart, because that is dubiousness, that is dishonesty, that is fraud of all kinds. Okay, so INEC executives that handle the election in this past one should not be the people to conduct a rerun. INEC should have a new technical committee. If we cannot have a new INEC executive to conduct the rerun, then we should have the technical committee, that a neutral technical committee that will conduct that election. That's the best way to go. Okay, so that is a very big part of the matter. That how, again, who will then be members of that critical committee, assuming a rerun is ordered, because right now we've had it in a day now or 2 days that APC is already preparing for a rerun, having seen the way the case is going, that the court might order a rerun of election. And that is why the Labour Party has also come out to tell all the Labour Party supporters to get ready for a rerun. Let us not be taken unawares, because APC, even ahead of the tribunal judgment, is already preparing for a rerun, meaning that that is the worst case that can happen. Okay, so now if the tribunal orders a rerun, okay, and then also orders reconstitution of the INEC leadership to conduct that election, the question is, who will be member of the new INEC committee or INEC ad hoc leadership that will conduct that election? Who is going to nominate who? Are they going to be the same APC supporters? Are they going to be so strong that the Tinubu's government will not buy them and compromise them? How will the rerun be run? That is the question. How will it be conducted? How will everything be put in place? How long will it take? Okay, how long will it take to do the election? Okay, right now the election has just ended, and some people still do not have their voters card. How will those voters cards be given back to the owners ahead of the rerun? Those are the things that the judiciary will need to provide guidelines for. Unfortunately, Nigeria is also a country where people don't follow procedure. People don't obey laws, people don't obey guidelines, and it becomes a very big question that how are we sure that even if we will do a rerun, we'll have a more decent election than the one we just had in February 25? That is also a very big question to answer. Okay, so now if the judiciary orders a rerun, how would that rerun be conducted? Who will conduct it? How will Tinubu's government handle it? Knowing fully well that Tinubu is desperate to win again to prove to people that he won before. Who are going to be constituted in that electoral ad hoc committee that will conduct the election? Or are they going to use the same current Inec executive that have failed Nigerians in the past election to do a rerun? Those are all the questions, all the nitty-gritties that need to be touched before a rerun is conducted. So it will not just be enough to order a rerun, rather it will have to look at all the steps that failed in the last election and correct them before we do a rerun. That's a very big thing, because right now nobody has investigated. We have not gotten a comprehensive investigation report on all the incidents that occurred in the past election. So as at this moment, there's no constructed and documented causal factor and root cause as to what happened and how those failures will be corrected. Okay, and one big part is the so-called Inec glitch. Now, nobody has investigated that glitch, and nobody has told Nigerians what happened in that glitch, what kind of glitch they had, and what has been put in place to make sure that such a glitch does not happen again in future elections. All of that has not been done. So it's going to be a very complex one too when a rerun of election is ordered, because it is not just to order a rerun, it's also to make sure that all the errors of the previous elections are identified and corrected to have a better election this time around. So in fact, there are too many questions to be answered by Inec, by the constitutional authorities, and by Tinubu's government before a rerun is done. So that is a question that all Nigerians need to answer ourselves. How will the rerun be done? So thank you for your listening, and let's have your response to this question, and let's know exactly what your thoughts are and how to prepare the mind of Nigerians for a rerun of presidential election.